Let's take a moment and talk about taking a round peg and trying to pound it into a square hole, or vice versa. I can never remember which. Or we can talk about me trying to put on the blue jeans I wore when I was in high school 50 years ago. Somehow they just doesn't fit. You can try to force it if you want to. You can pretend it fits, but it really doesn't. Because it doesn't. It just does not fit. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about this. There is a professor at Wake Forest University who had the audacity to step outside the cultural Marxist paradigm and say something that was unorthodox, albeit true. He made the point that Islam is not compatible with homosexuality and vice versa. To which the student said, "We are aghast." Or gasp, rather. Maybe it's aghast. I don't know. Well, it could be both. Why did they say that? Because they are, well, you can see the sign here. They are insistent that homosexuality and Islam are in fact compatible. Never mind those photos that we've seen on the internet where Muslims are tossing homosexuals off the top of tall buildings in a single bound to their deaths. Well, let's ignore that little thingy about the nightclub in Orlando. What was it called? The Pulse, a gathering place for homosexuals, where a Muslim went in and shot the place up, killing 49 people, virtually all of them homosexuals, as far as I know. Still, they insist, pounding the round peg into the square hole, still trying to put on my skinny jeans, that this does fit. I mean, these are compatible. Okay, let's scroll up here and take a look at the summation of this article. We found this at campusreform.org, and it's attributed to somebody named Cassie Dillon. And it says students at Wake Forest University are protesting a professor's column arguing that Muslim immigration to the United States should be restricted in the name of gay rights. Gilreth, as I pronounce his name, and that may not be correct, pointed out in response that in this current climate when fascism is an everyday accusation leveled against someone, students seem to forget that it was university students who undertook the first book burnings in Nazi Germany. First people to burn books in Nazi Germany were students. I did not know that. Now I do. Well, according to this guy. Okay, so you kind of get the idea of what's going on here. We have this professor who is admittedly a liberal. He's stepping outside, again, the cultural Marxist paradigm. And like any cult member who leaves the fold, instantly he's pounded on. You will return or you will get beat up. Why do they do this? Well, there's a couple reasons. Number one is because they want to intimidate anyone else who would dare contradict their dogma. And number two, and perhaps even more importantly, is the fact that homosexuals are a protected class of people in the United States who almost exclusively vote for Democrats, even though there are few Republicans. Oh, let's say Milo. What about Muslims? Well, same thing. What I read about the last election, presidential election, November 2016, is that 16% of Muslims voted for Donald Trump and all the rest of them voted for Hillary Clinton, or almost all the rest of them. So the liberal Democrats necessarily need to keep, every vote they can possibly get because, they have been losing elections recently. So they want to keep homosexuals happy and they want to keep Muslims in the Democratic Party fold, but they don't like each other. They fight each other. So we have to pretend they don't, so we can keep both of them voting for Democrats. Here's what the story said. This is a little bit redundant, but it says students at Wake Forest University are protesting the professor's column, arguing that Muslim immigration to the United States should be restricted in the name of gay rights. Shannon Gilreth, a professor of law and women's gender and sexuality studies, wrote the op-ed. Why would they even have a class in that? Why do they need that for what? Sounds like a class in cultural Marxism, whatever. But this individual, Shannon, I don't know if this is a man or a woman, wrote Europe's Islam Problem and U.S. Immigration Policy for the Washington Blade on January 19th, which, by the way, under my understanding, is a homosexual publication, arguing in it that Islam fundamentally clashes with gay rights. How dare you say such a thing? Okay, now this is a quote from the author. And I would like to say a quote from him, but it may be her. Shannon, S-H-A-N-N-O-N, I think is a female. I come from the American left. We're reading right here if you're following along. I come from the American left. I am a feminist. I am a gay rights activist. You do know I'm quoting, right? Okay. He begins. Okay, that answered my question. I should have seen that earlier. Consequently, the argument I'm about to make for tighter U.S. controls on immigration of Muslims may surprise some readers, but it shouldn't. So it goes on and to make the claim that Islam is endemically antithetical to the well-being of gay people. I think I can see that. I think I can see where tossing homosexuals off tall buildings would not be in their favor. It would not be to their well-being. I think this guy's got a point. You know, some lunatic goes into a gay nightclub and kills 49 people. That would not be in their well-being. Okay, unless you want to try to pound a red round peg into a square hole. Why do I have a hard time saying that? If I want to try to put on my skinny jeans, I can go ahead and try, and I can say, look, they fit. I can even go out in public. I don't think my wife would go with me. She'd be embarrassed. It doesn't fit. It just does not fit. If anything approaching this kind of destruction had been unleashed under the banner of any political organization, the Nazis or the Klan, for example, the left would be quick to condemn and short on tolerance for adherents who ask us to believe that they only subscribe to the ideology's non-lethal tenets. But that, because this mayhem is perpetuated in the name of religion, the gloves stay on. Well, actually, not true. It's got nothing to do with religion. Once again, it has everything to do with the fact that Muslims are Democrats and gays are Democrats, so we got to keep them both happy by pretending that they get along when we know good and well they don't. Okay, let's take a look at a couple more things here. He says this, and this is, again, kind of redundant, but it's worth repeating. In this current climate, when fascism is an everyday accusation leveled against someone, students seem to forget that it was university students who undertook the first book burnings in Nazi Germany. Diversity of ideas matters. Oh, who has said that? I've said that. Well, not verbatim. What I said was diversity is our strength. If you're speaking of diversity of free speech. Okay, once again, what's this guy doing? He's stepping outside the boundaries. He's going outside the cultural Marxist paradigm. He is violating their basic tenets of belief, their dogma. And he has to be made an example of. Anybody else try to do this, we're going to beat you up like we beat up this guy. It goes on to say that Gilruth also attacks the Muslim holy book, the Quran, which he claims to have read cover to cover. Boyce observes snidely, suggesting that perhaps he was speed reading. No, I think he pretty much got it right. Okay, here is another little, what do you call this, attack, okay, on Gilruth. It says, Shannon Gilruth's evidence over-exaggerates how homophobic Muslims are. Nasser says, arguing that we should not pretend that only Muslim-majority countries are homophobic, citing Russia as an example of another homophobic country, while also disputing Gilruth's reference to British Muslims demanding Sharia law. And that, of course, makes perfect sense. Because Russia, which is non-Muslim, non-Islamic, well, 90%, is known to be homophobic by their definition. then Muslim countries must not be. Perfect logic. Okay, let's conclude with this. I pray that no one forces their way of life onto Shannon Gilreath. Scroll down so you can see what we're reading here. But I also pray he does not force his way of life onto anyone. Okay, if you ever disagree with a liberal, if you ever disagree with a left-wing lunatic, they will make the contention, typically, that you are forcing your way of life on them. It does not occur to them that if they disagree with you, you can make that same assertion, that you are forcing your way of life on me. But they don't see that. As we say frequently, if liberals were logical, they would not be liberals. Okay, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it on social media. Don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you've not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a little round button that says subscribe. For your convenience, you can subscribe to this channel.
How to subscribe? Click subscribe. Click the bell. Check the box. Save.